So this is where free and open source software is just essential. Like the big networks, there's no excuse for them not to be sharing their software.
Right.
It's like when you're a public forum on that scale, the community just has a right to know what the algorithms are doing.
So you think that they're not sharing their software because their software is encoded and designed to spy on you and extract information and sell that information?
Partially.
Like when Jamie gives up your contacts, when he signs up for an app and he says, yes, you can get access to all my contacts.
There's a lot of reason, and they don't want people to compete with them. Like anyone could actually take all of our code and make their own social network and compete with us. They could set up on their own servers, and we encourage that. That's what like the Fediverse is called.
That's what Elon Musk does with Tesla. All of his electric patents for electric cars.
I think that he opened up the patents. I don't think if he open sourced all the code of the car,
right.
But he's definitely moving in the right direction of like, he wants to build the market.
Yes, and he also wants to save the world. I mean, he legitimately has this, and he also has a shitload of money. Yeah. He's got enough money. Yeah. I think that's a big factor with those guys.
But don't you think that it's almost like it's going to help whatever network does that, is more transparent, stops spying on people, is more community run and evolved? Wouldn't that be the network that you would think humanity would want to stick with in the long term? Like, wouldn't that be a good move of them?
Yes and no. For the average person, what are they losing when they get on Facebook or Google? What's bad? What happens?
Well, now
bad
their
in
likes
life?
are going down. Everybody's likes are going down, and that makes everyone very sad.
What do you mean?
Well, the algorithms, you're only reaching 5% of your own followers organically on Facebook now. And they're starting to change the chronological feed on Instagram too. And they know that this causes depression. And they're still doing it because they know that they think they're better at showing you what you want to see than you are. And they want to make money from it.
What do you mean by they know that this causes depression?
They've done studies about mental health in relation to, actually, Facebook got exposed like 5 years ago for doing a secret study on like a few million users where they were injecting both positive and negative content into the news feed, and they proved that they could affect people's moods. This was with Princeton. There's a huge backlash, and they're like, oh, sorry. Whoops.
Right, but this isn't injecting negative or positive content. This is just moving these images or these posts around so that less people see them?
There's two different topics there. The basic news feed on Facebook is now a mysterious conglomeration of thousands of variables, which we don't know. But additionally, like a few years ago, they were exposed for having been experimenting with people's brains.
That's right. I remember that now. That's right. Yeah, I remember thinking like, wow, that's kind of creepy. They're experimenting on the people that are on their site, and they're not telling these people they're experimenting on them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if they're trying to make it better, do you think that that's a factor that it actually? I mean, how does it cause depression if your images or your posts are not being seen by as many people?
Have you talked to kids posting on social media and their reactions to how many likes they're getting? They get very, very concerned.
Well, that seems like more of a problem with that.
It is both. It is on both sides. Being addicted to likes is some sort of
it's a weird dopamine hit, right?
It's not healthy, and we need to learn to not care about that. But I think that the core purpose of a social network is to subscribe to someone and see their stuff.
Yeah.
And when people subscribe to you, they see your stuff.
Right.
So when you spend years building up a following on social media, and say you earn 100,000 followers or something, and then suddenly the network says, no, your friends can't see that anymore. That's not cool. And even like Twitter's default newsfeed is no longer chronological. You have to click it to go chronological, And then it defaults back to their weird algorithm thing. So we're saying, look, 100% organic, chronological, raw forever as default. And then if you want to curate, algorithms or have recommended stuff come in as an alternative, fine. But that is the core purpose of social media, is to connect with people that follow you, and the other way around.
What do you think the purpose is? Like, why do you think Facebook would decide to have things not in chronological order and only be seen by 5% of your followers? Like, what would be the benefit in that for them?
Revenue.
Revenue, how so? How does that generate revenue?
They just know that they can keep you on the app better.
If you get less likes?
No.
If your stuff is seen by less people, it doesn't make sense.
That's a good point. It sort of works both ways. I think that they think they know the people that you're going to react to the most. So as a consumer, when you're getting that content, the algorithms are showing you what you typically like. Have you noticed that?
I'm really not paying much attention, but I believe you.
So yeah, for it's hurting creators. People who post are getting hurt. People who are sitting there just scrolling, they're the ones who are really getting, addicted, more so with the algorithms.
So how are the people that are posting getting hurt? They're getting hurt because their stuff is being seen by less people?
Yeah.
Because it's not chronological and it's not organic because it's curated. Mm-hmm. Huh. But aren't they doing it because they think it's going to be a better and an experience that's more conducive to your likes?
That's what they say.
What do you think they're doing it for then?
They're doing it because they have studied through looking at the data how to keep people on the app more.
Right, and that way is to give them, like say if I Google or if I look at muscle cars on Instagram. Now if I go to my search, it's all muscle car stuff. So that's what it is. They say, oh, he likes that. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to give him a lot of that.
And I think that's okay as an alternative feed, or to put that somewhere. I just think the core feed always needs to stay pure. Because otherwise you're just down the slippery slope again. And
I understand.
It's just feeding, they're injecting things into your head that you didn't ask for.
Right. And they're doing it because they want to keep you around. Yeah, that makes sense. How many different companies are subscribing to that? It seems like all the big ones we're saying are curating and moving things around, and all the big ones have an algorithm that's designed to keep you on board, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's okay to pursue. I think there's really cool things you can do with AI and machine learning and algorithms that is really beneficial. But it's just taking away people's reach when they have worked years and years to achieve it. It's not okay.
Do you think that this is this marriage between something that is this social media network that's designed to allow people to communicate with each other, and then commerce, like this business? Like, how do we maximize this business? How do we get more profit out of this business? How do we get these people to engage more? And then they start monkeying with the code and screwing with what you see and what you don't see. You think that's what's happening?
Yeah. But in the short term, it's probably working. But in the long term, they're betraying everybody's trust. It has to be more of a consent-based system. Mm-hmm. So, at least give people, it should be opt out by default. And fine, give me messages to opt in so that you can show me certain things. But this whole forcing people into surveillance it just has to stop. It's super scary.
How's it super scary to you?
It's just too much power.
Yeah. It's too much power for something that's supposed to be silly, right? Like, what was Facebook supposed to be? It was supposed to be some silly thing that you just can communicate with friends.
It was, but from the beginning, none of these networks have ever really been about the people of the networks. It's always been closed source since the inception. So, but then you look at open networks out there. You have Wikipedia, totally open source, community run. Granted, they have their issues with moderation, fine. But it's a top 10 website in the world. It's totally open source, Creative Commons content, incredible human achievement. Bitcoin, open source money. WordPress even is an open source CMS system that is like powering 25% of the internet. So why wouldn't that happen with social media? It should. I mean, this is where everyone's hanging out. So we should all sort of collectively even own it. We did an equity crowdfunding round, so like thousands of members of our community actually own the site.
Yeah. Now, how many people are on Minds?
We have like 1.5 million registered, like 250,000 active. We're small. But the weird thing is that even though we're a fraction of the size, especially smaller creators who get better reach on Minds than they do on Facebook and Twitter, because we have this reward and incentive system sort of like gamified, where you earn reach and you earn more of a voice for contributing. So like you could have an account on Twitter for 10 years and post thousands and thousands of tweets and you never hit that viral nerve and you just never really get much exposure. So we're trying to help people be heard. And so you'll find a small creator who on other networks has no followers have thousands and thousands of followers on Minds.
And what do you think you would like to do with Minds in the future that you haven't been able to do yet?
Engineer the control out of ourselves so that we aren't even in a position to really, take people's stuff down or...
Well, what if someone posts your house and your information, where your kids go to school?
I think that on the central servers, obviously, yes, we're always going to moderate. And if it's legal, it can stay. If it's not illegal, it can't. But a decentralized social network is definitely where we have to go. Because, and yeah, okay, it's scary. And, you've talked about this, like, things are getting more transparent. Our lives, this is sort of like the inevitable evolution of technology. I mean, how many hours a day do you stream? A couple? 25 years ago, would you have thought you'd be sharing, 20% of your life live streaming to, millions of people? Like our lives are becoming more transparent, just inevitably. It's just pulling us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So, Bitcoin, crypto, DAT, torrent type architecture, that is just where we're going because it's more resilient. It's less censorship prone. There's just benefits of it. I think that we can balance it too. Like maybe when you post, you have a decision. Do you want to be able to delete this at any point? All right, fine. Then you can post the central server. Do you want this to get unleashed? Yeah, it's scary because, there's scary stuff on the internet. It's already like that. But, getting into censorship more, does censorship even solve the problem? Or does it make it worse?
What problem?
The problem of crazy content, illegal content.
How could it make it worse?
Well, I mean, it seems like it can often amplify radicalization.
It definitely can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely, when you censor people, it just makes them aware that there's a plot against them too, right? It's a lot of conservatives on Twitter are finding that. Somebody, Sam Harris, actually just sent me an article that was detailing the bias against conservatives on Twitter that they've actually done, some real studying it, and it's pretty demonstrable. Demonstrable?
It affects both the left and the right.
Not real.
Demonstrable?
Yeah, the way I'm saying it wrong. But it affects the left and the right for sure. Yeah,
that's what Kyle was saying. I watched that video that he did, and it's anti-establishment that seems to be getting targeted. Mm-hmm. And so, Abby's been censored on Facebook. Abby Martin.
Yeah.
And yeah, this person today. Most of the stuff coming out of RT is progressive, which is weird. And who knows what kind of games are getting played behind the scenes with the Russia. Who knows? But the point is, they have a right to be there. And and this is not YouTube's fault. But remember the YouTube shooter? Mm-hmm. She thought she was getting censored on YouTube, and she went and brought a gun to the YouTube headquarters. Like, people get pissed when they get censored. It affects you.
Right, but in her case, you're talking about a crazy person that wasn't really being censored.
But there's crazy people out there.
Yeah. No, she wasn't being censored.
Well, she was getting censored just like everybody else is getting soft censored on these networks.
Well, she just thought wasn't getting promoted the way she wanted to. I don't think anybody was actively doing anything to her.
No, I'm not saying that.
Her stuff was terrible.
I'm saying that the soft censorship of the algorithms, people getting demonetized, this has an impact on psychology.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
So I'm not saying they were deliberately targeting her. And it's horrible what happened, but yeah.
So what you're saying is that these algorithms that they use in order to maximize their revenue and give people things that they like, but actually takes away from things being posted chronologically, keeps certain things from being seen by as many people, so it keeps them from being as viral, so it keeps the whole thing from being organic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, it gets to that point where we're realizing that all of these things, all these social media things are really recent. We've only had them for a few years, and we don't necessarily know what the rules should or shouldn't be. So it's good. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. I wanted to find out where these upstarts, where these new people are coming into the game, like Minds, like where you're coming into the game from, and what is your position on what's wrong with the current state of affairs.
Yeah, and look, there is messed up stuff on social media. Like, we'll get pigeonholed into being like, oh, you support all of this crazy stuff. First of all, most of the users on Minds are like artists, musicians, filmmakers, activists, journalists, just trying to get their content out there. There's a very tiny minority of like actually, crazy content. But
when you say crazy content, what do you mean? You alt-right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even going to make decisions on what is and isn't crazy. That's not my place. But it's been proven that censorship is not the answer. I mean, look at the history of prohibition.
Yeah.
It's you have digital content, it's substances, it's anything. People want information, and they want the ability to make the decision for themselves.